MVP. Golf swung, right field. Forget about it. Rangers strike first. Goes after the first one. Drills a high fly ball. Left center field. This game is tied. From Javier. Seager hits a high fly ball. Deep right field. A bomb in the first. One swing. Drive. It's tied. Seager smashes the ball down the line. Goodbye. Now Seager to right center field. Way back there. Shot again. Corey Seager does it again. It's Texas Rangers win the World Series. The Willie Mays Most Valuable Player Trophy presented by Chevrolet. Is there any doubt? Corey Seager.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of Right on Rangers Live, coming at you on the weekend, on the eve of all players from the Texas Rangers reporting. Of course, pitchers and catchers reported to the surprise facility, I believe a few days ago, maybe a couple of days ago. I think the first team workout is scheduled for tomorrow. Spring training almost upon us. It is about time for baseball to get back. We got football finally done. Super Bowl, obviously, on Sunday. That's out of the way. Baseball season is upon us, and we couldn't be more excited here at Right on Rangers. Let me go ahead and get things rolling with this. Here at Right on Rangers, we cover everything sports, but we put a big emphasis on all the teams we love from the great state of Texas, including the Rangers and especially the Rangers as the MLB season approaches. Thank you for choosing Right on Rangers for all of your Texas Rangers content. Let's go ahead and get into it. First of all, what's up to everybody? What's good? Whether you're tuning in live or on the replay, I appreciate you. Comments, questions, welcome as the show goes on. Eventually, I'll make sure that I get to everybody. Hope you guys are having a good weekend so far. Let's start with this. Big story, of course, for the Texas Rangers. Pitchers and catchers reporting. Jacob deGrom, bullpens getting thrown up on social media. I will say this, the Rangers and their success this year is going to rely on the health of guys like Jacob deGrom. I think the Rangers are built and have enough depth to probably make it through maybe a month, maybe a couple of months at the most. I think that's probably pushing it if there is a guy that goes down in Evo at deGrom. But I think as spring training approaches, a lot of us eager to see how some of the Rangers that struggled with their health in 2024 bounce back in the 2025 season. deGrom especially. I mean, you look at Jacob deGrom's past several seasons, hadn't played a whole lot of baseball. And so getting to see him ramping things up in spring training, you really, really hope that this is a new year, a fresh start for Jacob deGrom. I think the Rangers, if they can get 25 starts out of Jacob deGrom this year, are going to be in a very, very good place come August, come September. Jacob deGrom, other players continue to have injury issues. This could quickly be a repeat of the 2024 season. You all know it, Right on Rangers. I'm always glass half full. We're going to go into this season with a strong confidence that that's not going to happen. But I will say a little bit anxious, if I'm being real with you, about how everyone is going to hold up. Hopeful, but anxious to see guys get back in the swing of things, have some prolonged health, and show that they can be an everyday part of our club. I think Jacob deGrom going to be the one that people scrutinize the most. I'm curious to see how the Rangers will handle him out of the gate. I've heard reports of maybe he's only going to be a 4 or 5 inning guy for the first several starts. I don't think that they are totally taking the reins off of Jacob deGrom in March, but I do think that they will slowly ramp him up, and that probably would be wise. My hope is that the Rangers do a nice job mixing and matching. I did see pretty clearly, I forget what article it was, I forget my source, but it does not sound like the Rangers are going to be heading towards a 6-man rotation at this point in time. I don't think that the Rangers have the plan to do that. That was reported, something that I read, I want to say last week. I can go back and double check. Don't want to all be a part of the rumor mill without any sources, but do strongly remember reading six-man rotation not really in the works, which is interesting considering how much depth the Rangers actually have. And the Rangers have probably 8 or 9 guys that could be starting pitchers with Evo, with DeGrom. Both had obviously injury issues last year, both in their upper 30s. It's a little surprising to me that they wouldn't consider it. We do know that pitchers are creatures of habit. We absolutely understand that there are some guys that just love taking the ball every 5th day, and taking it every 6th day might be an issue. I mean, if you played baseball, you know how it goes. You know how much superstition at times can come into the game. And again, just the routine nature that a lot of these players employ to stay on track, to stay on target, to stay at peak level performance. I'm not all the way surprised that the Rangers aren't going to a 6-man rotation, but it would seem like not the worst idea in the world considering who you have on staff. And that's not a knock on anyone, but again, a result of the Rangers having a couple of pitchers. I mean, honestly, every Rangers pitcher last year, not named Andrew Heaney, was on the injured list at some point. Dane Dunning, John Gray, Cody Bradford, a lot of the guys that we saw last year in the rotation at times, only one was healthy the entire season, Andrew Heaney. So a 6-man rotation to me wouldn't have been the worst idea in the world, but I can understand being someone that's been around the game for a long time, played, coached. Again, not that I by any means have the most experience in the world or the wisest in the world when it comes to the game of baseball, but I can get why they wouldn't want to throw guys off of their routine. I can get why they wouldn't want to mess with that. I do think they're going to have to find their spots where they can maybe give DeGrom, Evo a rest, maybe skip a turn in the rotation here and there. I would imagine that will probably be the strategy if you're not going to go to a straight-up 6-man rotation. We'll keep things rolling here. Let's keep it in pitchers right now. So we got a few different pieces of news coming in over the past week or so. JT Chargois signed career 3.75 ERA. Last year, his numbers was with, by the way, Seattle, 2.75 ERA in 21 games. Also pitched for Miami, 1.62 ERA in 15 games. JT Chargois really does feel like a guy that can come in and maybe be that 7th inning bridge guy, maybe even an 8th inning guy. We'll see how Robert Garcia comes along. Some news coming out of spring training that Robert Garcia, the Rangers' newly acquired pitcher from the Washington Nationals, lefty in the Nate Lowe trade, dealing with some nerve irritation. That doesn't sound good. Nerve irritation. Like I could get maybe the arm is a little fatigued. I don't know. Nerve issue? That worries me. I hope that, like CY said, it's a whole lot of nothing, but I am a little bit worried about that nerve issue with Robert Garcia, a guy that supposedly was going to be at the back end of the bullpen, maybe closing out games at different points. I don't know. I don't know what to make of this news, and I really hope that my fears are quickly dispelled by Robert Garcia getting on a mound and throwing some quality innings in spring training. But here's what CY said about the injury. Nothing we're concerned about, direct quote here, nothing we're concerned about, but going to play cautiously here at the beginning of spring training. Garcia, 28 years old, again, acquired from the Nationals. Garcia acquired for Nate Lowe, of course, by the way. 72 games last year, 4.22 ERA, 75 strikeouts. I know a lot of people are high on Robert Garcia right now. My strong opinion on Garcia would be, let's not thrust the guy into high leverage situations if we can help it. I would probably much rather have a JT Chargois. Obviously, Chris Martin probably going to be starting this season as the team's closer. Texas not going out and getting any of the closers that were available in the offseason. Kenley Jansen just signed with the Angels. That was kind of the last man standing in terms of closers. So I really don't know what the lineup at the end is going to look like in the bullpen, 7, 8, 9. I think Chris Martin, 9. I would probably then do some combination of Robert Garcia and JT Chargois. Maybe Sean Armstrong is going to find his way in that mix. I don't think that when it comes to the bullpen, you've got to have the sexiest names out there. I don't think that you have to have the biggest names. I think there's a lot of very quality bullpen arms that are relatively unknown at most household dinner conversations. Like, I could not tell you the rundown of every single reliever on the teams in the AL West that the Rangers are rivaled by. Like, most people are not experts on the relief pitching throughout Major League Baseball. So I feel like as much as we are attracted to the big names, I think CY and company, Fenstermaker, Figueroa, all those guys did a nice job putting this bullpen together. And I do think that the JT Chargois signing is not an absolute nothing. It's definitely a very positive something. This is a guy that, again, sub-4 career ERA. I believe it had a 2.75. I don't know what the combined ERA was. 2.23 combined ERA in 2024. It's a guy that pitched in 36 games. Again, not somebody that was super high use like Robert Garcia, but I'll take a 2.23 ERA in 36 games. I'll take a guy that's 3.75 ERA in his career. So we'll see what we get from JT Chargois. I can't imagine with numbers like this that the Rangers don't use him in the 7th inning on. I think 9th inning lockdown by Chris Martin, no doubt, but I think 7th and 8th probably up for a little bit of debate. Maybe we see a combination of Garcia, Armstrong, and Chargois. I think that would be my preference at this point. We keep going. John Gray has been another name that they've mentioned out in the bullpen. John Gray, of course, been a starter his entire career with Colorado, then with Texas, and he has had his beautiful moments for the Texas Rangers as a starter. We've seen John Gray dominate. John Gray look like still one of the better arms in the league, but John Gray has dealt with some injury issues. We know that in the 2023 run, he was employed as a bullpen arm when the Rangers won their very first World Series. We definitely, though, I think have discussed on the show a number of times John Gray being more effective out of the bullpen. I do think that John Gray being utilized in the bullpen would not be the worst thing in the world. You heard some reports, though, coming out of Rangers camp that John Gray might be a guy that could close. And I want to give you a couple of different quotes. This is from Kennedy Landry, one of the Rangers beat writers. John Gray definitely not opposed to potentially closing games, but his eyes are still on being a starter. Here was John Gray's quote. John Gray says, "No one's mentioned it in regards to closing games. If that comes up, no big deal. I think they know that I'll be okay with doing something like that with closing ball games. If the time comes for it, yes, absolutely. I think it'd be fun. There'd be a small adjustment here and there," says John Gray, "but I've done it before. It's not like it'd be insanely new. I think if it comes to that position, it means our team's doing really good and we can be better." Bochy also, by the way, has said that he hasn't really thought about the possibility of John Gray closing games. And he does believe, Bochy believes, that John Gray's biggest contribution to the team is going to come as a starter. So I think that this is probably more fan generated, perhaps media generated than anything else. It doesn't really appear like John Gray as a closer is actually a legitimate thing that the club is thinking about. If they were, I would feel like, why would you come out and play dumb or play coy in the media right now at the beginning of spring training? If you were open to John Gray, or if you wanted John Gray to close games, it would seem natural that you would probably, first of all, make it a little more public. Second of all, maybe start throwing John Gray into some of those roles in spring training, into some of those moments. So I do think that John Gray as a closer could definitely play. And in fact, I feel like he's probably more effective out of the bullpen. But if you are going to have him do that, you probably need to be very clear about the role that he is going to be in, the closing role at the beginning of spring training. I don't think you want to throw John Gray out there in the 9th inning without getting any type of experience doing that in spring training. And of course, with spring training, starting pitchers, they are on a very strict regimen. And so you kind of have to make the leap now. I feel like if you really do want him to come out and be successful as a closer, you kind of have to make that shift right now at the beginning of spring training. And if they're not doing that, to me, it signals that it's really not a tangible option at this point. Now, Chris Martin struggles, Robert Garcia struggles. Could we potentially see a movement or a move towards that in the middle of the season? Absolutely. You'll see the Rangers, I think, do a lot of different things on the fly if it's not going well to start. Obviously, we're not rooting for that. We don't hope for that. But I don't think the Rangers are going to be going to John Gray in the closing role unless they are desperate. I actually couldn't disagree more with what John Gray says. His quote, by the way, was, "If it comes to me closing games," I'm ad-libbing a little bit here, "it means the team's doing really good." I don't know if I could disagree more. If John Gray's closing games, I actually think the team is probably not doing really good in the closing pitching department. I don't know what he completely meant by that. I'd love to pick his brain more if I was interviewing, but I can't see a situation where John Gray is closing games and the team is doing awesome. But that's just me. All right, let's keep things rolling here. Let me get to some comments, and then we'll roll things back a little bit. I got a few other things to go through, some Rangers news, some things that I'm looking forward to and looking forward to watching as spring training gets started up. Appreciate everybody. Let me keep going. Let's see. Texas Repo, if you're still hanging out, appreciate that. I'm going to wear this hoodie as much as I can. I keep it as nice as I possibly can. You never know when a World Series championship is going to come around again. So I will wear this proudly for as long as it lasts. Appreciate you showing up, bud. Has Kyle Finnegan signed anywhere? I don't think Kyle Finnegan has. Natalie, what's up, by the way? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I don't think Kyle Finnegan has signed. I'll look it up on the fly here while we're doing the pod. Nationals have stayed in contact with him, but he's still a free agent, though the reports, and there's multiple, there's a Sports Illustrated, MLB trade rumors. There's a lot of reports that Kyle Finnegan is going back to the Nationals. So we'll see. Rangers have not been linked to him in any way, shape, or form. He's still out there, but I really don't think that the Rangers are going to be adding anybody else. I think JT Chargois is probably going to be the last piece that they add in the bullpen. I can't see them going out and getting a Kyle Finnegan. Wouldn't complain if they did. I think it's better to have more veteran options than less, but they have a lot out there. They've got Hobie Milner. They've got Sean Armstrong. You've got Chris Martin. You've got Robert Garcia. You just added JT Chargois. I think that the Rangers have definitely got a solid mix. Guys who obviously have been starting pitchers that are going to be used in longer relief or in the 5th and 6th innings. I think that the Rangers are in a good place with the pitching. I know a lot of people were really disappointed the Rangers didn't go out and get a closer. Look, Chris Martin doesn't have a ton of closing experience, but he is very, very good in high leverage, late game situations. I think that I feel pretty positive about Martin in that role. There is, with some pitchers, kind of a weird block in the 9th inning. Like some guys, it's just a mental thing. And, you know, they look a lot better in the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th inning. But there's something about the 9th inning. Chris Martin really doesn't strike me as that type. We won't know until he actually gets into those situations. But I feel good about having Chris Martin in the 9th. I would have preferred 8th and then you add somebody else. But the other guy that I think would be maybe somebody else that you'd really be excited about coming back is David Robertson. Has David Robertson signed anywhere? Let me check this out here. David Robertson linked to Arizona as of 23 hours ago. Linked to Arizona and I think maybe the Red Sox. There's this Newsweek article. Let me see if I can pull it up here. I don't want to mess up the stream. Whenever I'm like looking up stuff, by the way, it feels like whenever I'm on a site that has like a ton of videos, sometimes my connection gets like all wonky. So forgive me. I'll see if I can get through this quickly. But let me see. Yeah, David Robertson, kind of to the Red Sox, and a little bit, like I was telling y'all, a little bit I've seen of him to Arizona. So Red Sox in Arizona, no Rangers reunion seeming apparent at this point. So I think the Rangers are pretty much riding with who they got. Let me go to TikTok and let me scroll back a little bit, see if I can get caught up with comments. I appreciate all y'all hanging out. Thank you, by the way, for everybody who's commented so far. I'm going to try and get to as many as I can. All right, let me keep going here. Let's see. I wish that they would make it a little bit easier to scroll through this on the live, but I'm probably just old. All right, let me keep going. Hard to keep everyone healthy at all points of the season. Of course it is. Like, I don't think that the Rangers are going to go through 2025 without any injuries. By no means am I saying if they have anyone on the injured list at any time, it's a failure. But I guess trying to be real, a little bit nervous about the Rangers pitching situation. I think that they have enough depth to make it through if a guy needs a month off, any kind of extended absence. I think the Rangers are going to start feeling it pretty quickly. It's not like the depth that they have. Like, you've got a ton of studs. I think Kumar Rocker could be in that category. Cody Bradford could be. Tyler Mahle, I think he's still an above average pitcher. But then you start getting into John Gray territory, Dane Dunning territory, Jack Leiter territory. I'm not saying those guys are trash. I am saying that's the kind of stuff that worries me when you have to rely on those three guys to be in your starting five. I think John Gray's probably going to be the fifth starter if I had to guess right now. If it's me, this is what I would do. If it was me, y'all let me know if you disagree. I would go DeGrom. I'd go Evo. After that, I would probably lean Tyler Mahle, Cody Bradford in the 4th spot, and then I'd probably throw Kumar Rocker 5. And maybe you mix and match Cody Bradford, Tyler Mahle, but I would probably start with that 5, and then I'd have John Gray, I'd have Dane Dunning, I'd have Jack Leiter in the bullpen. I don't think that there is really a great upside to using those guys as starting pitchers at this point. Jack Leiter, I think that he can be that guy that you spot start. DeGrom, Evo, they need a little bit of time off. For me, the Jack Leiter experiment, it's not going awesome. He's still young. He hasn't had a ton of time in the bigs. But I just think that there are pitchers better than Jack Leiter right now on staff. I would probably trust John Gray to throw over Jack Leiter at this point. Dane Dunning, Jack Leiter is a little bit closer to me, but I'd rather have John Gray than Jack Leiter. And for that reason, I think that Jack's got to start in the bullpen. They'll probably give him some opportunities here and there to start games. I can imagine there's going to be several Rangers pitchers that are going to need to be skipped in the rotation here and there. So I think he's going to get his opportunities one way or another. But I don't think you need to have Jack Leiter starting 25 plus games for you. You've got other pitchers that are better. I'd rather have Mahle than Jack Leiter. I'd rather have Kumar Rocker than Jack Leiter. I'd rather have Cody Bradford 100% than Jack Leiter. So unless maybe they decide they're going to have Jack continue to become and develop as a starting pitcher in AAA. But I think Jack is one of those weird guys that is probably a little too good for AAA, but isn't quite good enough to hack it at the major league level. One of those quadruple A's, and Jack's young. So I think that he can work out of that. But right now, I think that's kind of where Jack Leiter is at. A bit of a quadruple A player right now. And I'm not putting that label on him forever. I'm not saying he's Sam Huff, no disrespect, but that was what Sam Huff was. And he was with the organization for a very long time. So for me, Jack Leiter's either starting in the pen or he's starting in AAA. If you're not going 6-man rotation, I really don't see a justification for having him in the rotation. We keep going, though. Let me get more comments. Astros win the silver boot again. Nah. I don't see why, and I don't understand. I know I'm a homer, but I don't get why the Astros at this point are ranked higher than the Rangers are in so many different predictions and polls and things that I see. I think the Astros got considerably worse. You lost Kyle Tucker, who is a perennial MVP candidate. Like, I don't think that can be underscored. The Astros lose Kyle Tucker. You lose Alex Bregman. You have several, in my mind, key losses. You lost a couple of guys from the pitching angle as well. I know who they've added. I know who they got back in that trade with the Cubs. For me, I don't see how you make the argument that the Astros got better this offseason. And I'm not trying to be a hater. There's going to be plenty of time for that during the season. Trust me. But I just don't understand that argument. I actually would love to hear from Astros fans, like the diehards. And again, we're not going back, like, just trash talking each other. Do you really feel like the Astros got better? I personally don't, and I don't know how you could argue that they did. You lost Alex Bregman. You lost Kyle Tucker. Those are two huge, huge bats in the lineup. And I know Kyle Tucker was injured a ton last season, but when he is healthy, I mean, that is an elite bat in Major League Baseball. Let me see if I can pull up the Astros projected starting lineup right now. Okay, this is good. Roto Champ for the win. You added Christian Walker. I know some people might come back with that. Christian Walker is a very quality bat. I definitely am not going to poo-poo the Christian Walker acquisition. It's a good glove. It's a good bat. I can't say Christian Walker strikes quite as much fear in my heart as Kyle Tucker did. And I know that the Rangers have had their ups and downs with Kyle Tucker and facing him. But right now, Altuve, Paredes is a good bat. Alvarez, of course, scary. Christian Walker, Yainer Diaz, Jeremy Pena, Chas McCormick, Ben Gamel, Jake Myers. None of these guys are scaring me except for Yordan Alvarez. Jose Altuve has given the Rangers fits over his career. Maybe I'll throw him in there. But this lineup did not get better. Projected starters right now, a lot of young guys. Framber Valdez, Ronel Blanco, Christian Javier. They've still got some great young pitching. But you've got Hunter Brown right now projected as the number 2 starter. Arrighetti was pretty good. He was a rookie last year. I think he still had over a 4 ERA. Look, I don't know. I don't see how you make the argument, though, the Astros got better. I don't understand that. That's why I don't understand why they are not, or why they're not lower in terms of the odds and the projections. Oh, Texas Repo, good. You still hanging out. Again, not trying to trash. I just am saying, from a prediction standpoint, I don't understand the hype on the Stros. I would think people would be a little more down on them losing 2 of your best batters and not really replacing them with anybody. But who got added on the pitching side? I mean, I'm just looking at a projected starting list. All these guys are guys from last year, are they not? I mean, Valdez, Brown, Blanco, Arrighetti, Wesneski. I don't know who that is. Christian Javier, JP France. Aren't all these guys from last year? Or are you talking about the bullpen? Let me see the bullpen here. See what the bullpen's looking like. Hader, of course. Abreu. That's a great 8-9, by the way. That was the other thing. They traded away Presley, right? So, and I'm looking up and down here. Again, I'm not going to pretend like I know a ton of the pitchers in the relief market or in the relief depth for any team. But let's see. Rafael Montero. They've got some guys in the minors rehabbing Urquidy, but he's a starter. Again, I just don't know how you make the argument the Astros got better. That would be my honest take on that. I think you can't make that argument at all for the Rangers. You upgraded the lineup with Jock Peterson, with Jake Berger. You got Evo back. Maybe you could make the argument that the pitching didn't get that much better. You lost Yates, you lost Robertson, but you added Chris Martin. I think that is a very respectable name. I think the Rangers got better, no doubt. Not astronomically better, but the Rangers got better. Don't know how you make that argument for the Astros or the Mariners. The Mariners, they have a great starting pitching rotation. Let's pull up the Mariners right now and let's see what we can find. But I don't think the Mariners lineup got any better either. Again, don't know how you make the argument that either of those two teams got better. Here's the Mariners' projected lineup. Robles, Julio, Cal Raleigh, Rosarina, Rayleigh, Haniger, Crawford, Polanco, Moore. They're basically running it back with the same lineup as last year. And that lineup was one of the worst in Major League Baseball. Now, the projected starters, totally elite. Gilbert, Cy Young candidate. Luis Castillo, great pitcher. George Kirby, Bryce Miller was good. Brian Wu, he was a good pitcher as well. They've got an outstanding starting pitching rotation, but they're trotting out the same lineup that was among the worst in Major League Baseball last year. So I don't even understand how the Seattle Mariners are ranked as highly as they are in the odds markets, in the prediction markets either. So for me, Rangers, I think, are the clear favorite in the West. I think that the projections that we went through on the show last week show that. I'm not saying it's going to be a runaway, so don't get it twisted. I think it's going to be a fairly close race. I do think the Rangers will come out on top. Of course, I'm going to say that. But I think it's going to be close. I could see this coming down to 2, 3, 4 games at the end of the season. Maybe Astros, maybe Mariners end up making it into the wild card spots, but I think the Rangers will reclaim the West this year. And I think that a big reason why I say that is because the Rangers in August were only a few games out of first place. The AL West was actually kind of a laughingstock around the league last year, if you remember. Everybody was looking at the AL West in comparison to the AL East, and it was like, the AL West is total trash. AL West was getting so much crap last year. And the Rangers, for as bad as they were like within 3 or 4 games of first place in August. So with that knowledge and that information combined with the fact that the Rangers clearly got better, I can't see why you're not able to make the argument that Berger, Peterson, and then obviously having a full year of Jacob deGrom, those 3 players right there, I don't know how anybody thinks you're ridiculous for making the argument, yeah, Jacob deGrom, Jock Peterson, and Jake Berger are probably worth the 3 or 4 games that the Rangers were out of first place in August last year. I think that the Rangers are going to have a tight race. I think that they are definitely going to have some battles with those 2 divisional opponents, the Mariners and the Astros, but if they can stay healthy, if everything is the same, I do see them coming out on top in the AL West. Worst case, wild card. Maybe the Mariners surprise. Maybe the Astros surprise. Worst case, the Rangers are absolutely making the playoffs, barring major injuries to some of their key players. A Seager, a deGrom, Evo. At some point, the injuries do matter, but I think the Rangers did a nice job this offseason of improving the depth and getting guys, bringing on guys that are going to be able to keep the ship floating, to keep the ship above water, even if injuries do come. Let me keep going. Appreciate everybody hanging out. When does Seager move over to first base? I don't think that's happening for the next couple of years. Like, I'd be really surprised if Corey Seager actually moves over to first base. Maybe they're going to be doing it sooner rather than later, but I think you've got Jake Berger now. They've got control over Berger, I want to say, for like 3 or 4 more seasons. Like, there's really not a rush to move Seager over to first base. I know that we all are pumped, and I know that there's a lot of momentum around Sebastian Walcott, which I totally get. Sebastian Walcott is catching a lot of eyes with the season that he had last year in 2024. I think, though, that they are going to bring him along at a moderate pace. I don't think there's any reason to rush Sebastian Walcott. You've got Corey Seager there, and Corey Seager is not a bad shortstop. Is he a Gold Glover perennially? No. Corey Seager is not a Gold Glove perennial shortstop. He definitely, though, I think, plays solid defense, maybe slightly above average. I'd love to look at the advanced stats. Don't know if I'm going to be able to pull it up on the fly here, but I don't think that there's as big of a rush to move Corey Seager in the minds of the front office as there is among fans. And of course, that has a lot to do with the hype with Sebastian Walcott. I personally think Walcott you could probably do without him for at least this season, potentially next season, unless there just comes a point where he is doing so good and he is hitting the cover off the ball so well in AAA that you just can't keep him out of the bigs. I mean, maybe in that case, but I don't think there's any reason to rush Sebastian Walcott. In fact, if you can help it, I personally am not a big fan of rushing prospects unless your team is dog terrible or you just absolutely have nobody else because of injuries. And I think they would probably put Josh Smith at shortstop if Corey Seager went down before they ever thought about calling up Walcott. So I don't think it's going to be as quick as people think with Corey Seager. Let me keep going. Appreciate it, guys. Let's see. Will Kumar be in the rotation? I'd like to see Kumar Rocker in the rotation. I don't see who you really in good faith put above him. I think we've seen what we need to see out of John Gray. I don't know. Anybody else out there? Like, do we need to see any more from John Gray? I want to see what we've got in Kumar Rocker. And I know they were being optimistic and cautious with him last year with the injury that he was coming off of, which I totally get. But I want to see what Kumar Rocker has. Unless he lays an egg in spring training and is just getting hit all around the ballpark, I really don't know why you would opt John Gray over Kumar. But as I'm piecing it together, it feels like John Gray is probably going to find his way into the rotation one way or another. I don't know where he's going to fit. I can't see any other scenario beyond John Gray bumping Kumar Rocker out of the starting rotation. So that's why I personally would have John Gray in the bullpen, maybe not closing games, but at least being a long relief man, or at least being a guy you can throw in maybe the 6th, 7th, or 8th inning. But you got Bochy, you've got other guys around the organization saying that his biggest contribution is as a starter. Maybe Kumar Rocker is going to be kind of odd man out. I don't know. If he kills it in spring training, I think kind of like Wyatt Langford, it's going to be really hard to keep Kumar Rocker out. I really don't foresee any other scenario beyond John Gray potentially kicking Kumar Rocker out of the rotation. I think if it's all the same and Kumar Rocker has a great spring training, I think he's got to be the 5 guy. You've got Malley, Bradford, 3-4 interchangeably. I think that 5th spot, if you're not going to have a 6-man rotation, and the Rangers have not indicated that that's what they're going to do. So if you're not going to do a 6-man rotation, that 5th spot either has to be John Gray or Kumar Rocker. I would rather see Kumar Rocker, but I have a feeling that we probably start with John Gray, and then maybe Kumar starts in AAA. Maybe Kumar Rocker. I don't think he's going to be a bullpen guy. I don't think they want him in that role. I feel like Kumar may start in AAA. Jack Leiter may start in AAA. I think it all depends on, do the Rangers want those guys to be starters or not? If you don't see Jack Leiter, if you don't see Kumar Rocker in a starting pitching role, then I think bullpen would be great. But if you want those guys to be starters, I don't know how long you want them being relief pitchers or, long guys in a 5-man rotation. All right. Does Elvis really deserve the Rangers Hall of Fame? I think yes. I was looking at the statistics on this. Edgar, what's good, by the way? Thanks for all the comments today. Appreciate you, man. So I was looking at this, and I want to go back to this, okay? Because there were some really good stats on Elvis that I talked about on the show. Elvis is, forget what he leads the team in at this point. It's like, I don't know if it's hits or something. It's a pretty big stat. But I'm going to see if I can pull this up. I'm just going through my notes here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it on the fly, but I'm going to try. But I think Elvis is definitely deserving. Let's see here. Holds the franchise record for most games started at shortstop. Leads in stolen bases, not hits. Stolen bases in most games started at shortstop. 2-time All-Star. Instrumental, obviously, in the 2010-2011 Series. I think longtime Ranger leads the franchise with stolen bases, games at shortstop. It definitely isn't out of left field for me. But it all depends, I guess, on how elite or exclusive you want your Hall of Fame for the team to be. But I don't have any problem with Elvis being in the Hall of Fame. I mean, that was a staple. He was a staple with the Rangers in the 2010s, especially in that World Series and the back-to-back World Series runs, even throughout the 2010s, Beltre, Andrus. I mean, those were some of the faces of the organization. I'm okay with Elvis being in the Hall of Fame. Could I see Gray ending up in that closer role? Richard kind of already talked about this a little bit, but I definitely think that John Gray could be a closer, but it doesn't sound like the Rangers are wanting to do that. So if you're going to have John Gray be in the closer role, it would kind of make sense to do it now. Doesn't seem like they're doing that, though. Will Kumar be in the rotation? Kind of already touched on that. I really don't think that he should be out of it, but I think with all the talk they've been doing about John Gray and the fact that they're doing a 5-man rotation, it feels like Kumar might be on the outside looking in. And in that case, I would think you probably send him down to AAA to start the season. And you see what he can continue to do down there. I think he kind of dominated AAA, though, last year in 24. I don't really know how much more you need to see of him there. But if you're not going to have him in that 5th spot, do you really want to throw Kumar Rocker in the bullpen if you're expecting him to be a big-time starter? I don't know. For me, it's like kind of like the Evan Carter debate. Like, do you really want to platoon Evan Carter forever and make him be a right-handed pitcher only player? I think when you got top prospects like this, Kumar Rocker, Evan Carter, you got to take the reins off. Kumar Rocker's a starting pitcher. Let him start games. So for me, I would definitely have him in the rotation, but I think they may go John Gray just based on everything that I've been reading. Let me keep going. Paredes is equivalent to Bregman offensively. I don't think I can probably say that at this point. Like baseball is such a year-to-year sport, and I know that Isaac Paredes has had some good years, but Bregman has done it at a high level consistently every season. Let's look at the past couple for Paredes right now. 238, batted 238 in 2024, 250 in 2023, batted 205 in 22, 208 in 21, 220 in 2020. That's kind of a weird year. So definitely on the uptick. And look, he had 31 homers in 2023, went back down to 19. I think you can make an argument that 2023 was a bit of an anomaly for him. I think he's kind of a Nate Lowe level of production. Nate Lowe is 15 homers, 75 RBI. I think that's what you're getting out of Isaac Paredes. I'm not as high on Isaac Paredes as everybody else is. I don't think he's a bad player, but I don't think he's replacing Bregman. And I would 100% disagree. Astros got worse. You lose Kyle Tucker, you lose Bregman, and you replace it with Isaac Paredes and Christian Walker. Bregman and Tucker are a much better combination than Paredes and Christian Walker. We can agree to disagree if that's how you feel. I don't think a lot of people, non-Astros fans, are going to say, yeah, Bregman and Tucker combo worse than the Paredes Christian Walker combo. I don't think that's a hot take. Let me keep going. Casual Rangers fan, is the team making moves to bounce back or maybe retool? Absolutely. The Rangers, they added Jock Peterson to the lineup. I think that's a great addition. I think Jake Berger, first baseman, definitely not as good of a glove as Nate Lowe, but I think a better bat. I mean, the guy's averaged 30 home runs over his past 2 seasons. So the Rangers added pop to the lineup. You re-signed Nate Eovaldi. You have a full year of health ahead of you. Knock on wood for Jacob deGrom. You signed Chris Martin to replace Kirby Yates. I think that the Rangers have done enough this offseason, and I think that you can say they've improved in the areas that they needed to get better in. Can we keep going? Thank you so much, by the way. Appreciate all the likes. Thank you for anybody that has followed. since the live has started. Really, really appreciate that. Let me go back to YouTube and see if I missed anything from you guys at this point. There's no guarantee that Walcott stays at short because he might outgrow short. I mean, look, shortstop is a pretty valuable position. I personally would like to see Sebastian Walcott stay at shortstop. I think it is an extremely valuable position. If you've got a guy that is a great defensive shortstop, that's everything. Like, shortstop is a huge position. So I don't quite understand the comment 100%. Outgrow, you'd have to get a little bit more specific for me, I think. But I personally say if he's a good shortstop, there's really no reason to move him. And I probably would not want to move him unless he is just tearing the cover off the ball at such an alarming rate in AAA that you have just got to get Sebastian Walcott in the major league lineup. But if Corey Seager isn't hurt, if you've got guys producing and the lineup's doing well, there's not going to be any kind of premium on rushing Sebastian Walcott. So unless they are desperate, unless they just really need that bat in the lineup, I don't think he's going to be changing positions. And I think if the Rangers wanted him somewhere else on the field, you probably would have seen them do that already. I can understand if you got to move guys around in their positions when they get to the major league level because there's not a clear spot for them. But you would have seen the Rangers probably move Sebastian Walcott to a different spot already if they didn't like him at shortstop or thought that he profiled better at a different position. If Wyatt Langford tops out, what's a good comp for him? I mean, maybe like a poor man's prime Mike Trout, I would say, is what he tops out as. Like Mike Trout, I think, again, not prime Mike Trout. Don't quote me on that. I don't think that his ceiling is prime Mike Trout. I would say probably a step below. Like I said, kind of a poor man's prime Mike Trout. I think he can be a 25-25 guy. I think you might see him get 30-30. I think he could definitely do 30-30. I think right now, though, I'm going to say he gets to 25 bombs, 25 stolen bases this year. So I'm going to go a prime poor man's Mike Trout for Wyatt Langford. Look, he could obviously surpass that. He could become one of the best baseball players ever to live. I definitely am not negative or pessimistic about Wyatt Langford. I think he's going to continue to get better and better. So that would be my comp at this point. I'm not going to proclaim him to be one of the best players or equal to one of the best players to ever play. Mike Trout, a phenomenal player when he was in his prime. Right now, obviously dealing with a lot of injuries and whatnot. I hope Wyatt Langford can be healthier than Mike Trout was. But my point, when Mike Trout was healthy and on the field, I think Wyatt can be maybe a step below, a small step below what Mike Trout was in his prime. I think Wyatt is going to continue to get better and better. I think this year he'll take another step. I think the ceiling for him is probably a consistent 30 for 30 guy. And with that, probably you're getting somewhat close to 100 RBI. Maybe you're in the realm of 85 to 100 every year. It kind of depends on where they pitch him or where they place him, in the lineup. I would imagine that he's going to be in the top 5. I don't know why you would want him really anywhere else. I think he definitely could hit for you in the 5 spot. I think maybe you could have him in the 3 spot protecting Corey Seager. I think he's up for that. I think a strong part of me last year did not love him in the 3 spot. It was a lot of pressure because teams are going to pitch around Corey to get to you when you're in the 3 spot. You got to have somebody in that 3 spot that is going to strike fear in the hearts of other teams. I think Jock Peterson, when there's a righty out there, is going to do that. I would be really surprised if they didn't have Jock in the 3 spot when righties are on the mound. I think when there's a lefty, maybe you see Wyatt or you see Josh Young slide down to that 3 spot. We know that Josh Young tears the cover off of left-handed pitching. So maybe Wyatt going to be 5th or 6th. It could be that they mix it up a little bit. It just depends on how the team's doing and how the individuals are doing. Okay, I see what you're saying, Natalie. Appreciate the clarification there. All right, let me keep going. We're about to wrap things up here. I got a few more things, but pretty much at this point, we are just getting ready for everybody to show up to surprise tomorrow, the first team workout. Games don't start for another 6-7 days, I want to say. I think next weekend games start Saturday, Sunday. I think the Dodgers and the Cubs are like the first game on the 20th. And then I think everybody else starts on the 21st or the 22nd. They need a legit closer. Closer by committee never works. I think they came out and said they're starting it out with Martin, but maybe they're waiting for spring training and just going to see who shows up in terms of production in spring training. But I think Chris Martin is going to be the guy. So I don't think they're doing committee. I know there was some talk like maybe Robert Garcia was going to be a guy that they throw out there. Maybe if there's like 3 lefties coming up, but personally, I would like to see them start with Chris Martin, not do the mix and match thing. I do hope Garcia has a big year, although I will say the nerve irritation thing that he's going through right now that the Rangers are holding him out for doesn't make me feel great. Let's see. He had nerve irritation in his left forearm. That just doesn't sound good. Like your left forearm, nerve irritation. I really, really hope what CY said is true. They're really not concerned and they're just being cautious, but that doesn't make me feel great. We keep going. I have a future Rangers over 85.5 wins, sharp or square. 1,000,000% sharp. 1,000,000%. We actually have talked about the Rangers win total. 85.5 the win total. And I've said I don't see how this team doesn't win 90 games, minimum 89. I think that they are a 90-win team, though. I think the Rangers, they won 78 games last year, and 77 or 78, and they had like a totally makeshift lineup at certain points and starting rotation. Like I don't understand how a lot more people aren't bullish on the Rangers, but 85.5 over, sharp, 100%. All right, let me scroll back down. Adolis Garcia, you're talking Adolis. Okay. Adolis definitely needs to step up this year. I know that the numbers, we kind of talked about this a few weeks ago. I know when you look at the numbers for Dolly, like they don't look terrible, but understand that Adolis Garcia is in a prime spot in the lineup. Dude is 3 or 4. He had 85 RBI, 25 homers. Like, if you just look at those numbers alone, you're thinking, not bad. But I look at the 224 batting average, the 284 on base percentage. I know right now, kind of where we're at in baseball, it's about the home run ball. It's about, driving the ball out of the ballpark. And if the OBP is a little low, whatever. But Adolis Garcia, you got to be getting on base at a better clip than 284. It's got to be better than that. And for me, if you're going to be low average guy, you have got to be a 30-plus homer guy, 100-plus RBI guy. If you're hitting 225, you've got to be over 100 RBI. You have got to be driving the ball out of the ballpark 30-plus times. So Garcia, if you watch the Rangers throughout the entire season, a lot of struggled to catch up to the fastball. He was most deadly off of breaking balls, but the fastball was a problem for him. He did have his moments where he got going, but Adolis Garcia having a bounce back year, he just needs to be somewhere in between 2023 and 2024. I don't think he needs to return to the 2023 postseason run, Adolis Garcia. That'd be great. I wouldn't be complaining, but I think that Adolis Garcia, if he can just get somewhere in between 2023 postseason and what he was last year, that's really all the Rangers need. We keep going. Appreciate all y'all. Thanks for hanging. Let me see if I got anything else. I'm going to go through, I do a little news summary, just make a bunch of notes on things that I see. We've talked so much about the Rangers' new broadcasting deal. I haven't bought my subscription yet, by the way, for Ranger Sports Network. What I need to figure out is how it's going to work with MLB TV, because I do enjoy watching other games when the Rangers aren't on. Like I can't say I just watch the Rangers and that's it. So I'd like to still be able to watch the other games. I'm interested to see how it's all going to work. I would assume if you buy MLB TV, you can probably watch the Rangers if you're an out-of-market person like me. If you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area or if you live in Texas close by, I think it probably gets a little dicey because MLB TV blacks out. But I'm kind of assuming if you live out of the market, you'll probably be able to still watch the games on MLB TV, even though it's Rangers Sports Network. So we talked a lot about that. Clearly, the Rangers had that in the bag for I would say probably a month plus before they really got going with some of the free agent signings because the Rangers spent some money this year. So I'm glad that all worked out. Y'all have to let me know what you think of it. I'll probably just buy MLB TV and get to watch the Rangers through that since I'm out of market. But y'all have to let me know how it goes. Let's see. We talked about JT Chargois. We talked about that acquisition. And then we talked about Robert Garcia, the injury, the cautiousness with the nerve irritation in his forearm. We did a little bit of everything today. It was a good show. I appreciate all y'all hanging out. Make sure I didn't miss anything else. And then we are going to call it a day. Thank you so much to everybody that commented, had questions. Helps keep the show fresh. I always say that. Love the comments and questions. I meant for this. I always say this, but I meant for this to be a good place for discussion. Just wanted to shoot the breeze with fellow Rangers fans, with fellow fans of the teams that I love from Texas. So we're achieving that today and really on every show this offseason. I can't wait for games to start. I guess as fun as it is to talk offseason and rumors and what if they do this, what if they do that, I would much prefer to be talking about actual baseball games. So I'm excited for the spring training games to start up. We're not going to go live after all the spring training games. We'll still probably go live once or twice a week during the spring training season. Then when the actual season gets started, probably go live maybe 3, maybe 4 times a week. I don't think we're going to do every day like we did last year. As much as I loved it, it was definitely a grind at times. I'm going to taper it back just a little bit. But it's going to be a great 2025 season. I'm hopeful that I have a lot more positive podcasts in store in the 2025 season than I did in 2024. It was hard to get on and go live after some of those games, man. Some of those games last year, y'all know, were rough. All right. I will probably be back, I would say, on Wednesday, perhaps. NBA All-Star break going on right now. I've been doing a lot of Dallas Mavericks content, especially since the Luka trade. So we'll go live after the All-Star break for some of those games for sure. We will do a little bit of a focus on Rangers. I don't think there's a whole lot going on in the football world right now, Longhorns or Cowboys. If anything does happen of note, we'll surely be covering it. Here on the show, we do Rangers, Longhorns, Cowboys, and Mavericks. And then, of course, we mix in a little bit of everything else from the sports world. So appreciate all of y'all hanging out. Hope you're having a good weekend. Hope you have a good rest of the weekend. And we'll look forward to seeing you for the next live, probably on Wednesday of next week. All right, y'all. Thank you again. Have a blessed one. And as I always say to end every show, God bless and go Rangers.